Hello everyone, and welcome back to Optima, home of the Optima APOS series product group. In this video, I'm going to explain each of the setting options available to you right after this. Settings Maintenance allows you to change the system options for the application and for your GoPOS point of sale devices. The maintenance screen can be viewed by setting number, all, or group by functionality. Hovering your mouse over each of the fields will display a brief description of each setting, and pressing F1 when the mouse is positioned over the window will display the help documentation for the settings module. Let's start by looking at each of the settings available to you under the General group. These settings are used to control display and user options. Setting 5, Culture. You must select a culture linked to one of the supported languages, English, French, or Spanish. If a non-supported culture is chosen, the default language of English will be used. On GoPOS, the culture affects the display of monetary values and date formats only. Setting 6, Number of decimal digits. Enter the number of decimal digits to display in this application and on the GoPOS system. Setting 14, Store ID. Enter the store name or identification. This text will be printed on the customer receipt if setting 12, Print Store ID on the receipt, has been set to true. Setting 15, Register number. Each POS should have a unique number from 1 to the total number of registers in the network. This will allow the application to find and communicate with individual registers. This value is read-only on PC Prog and should be set directly on each APOS unit. When updating the register number on GoPOS, you must reboot the unit before the change will take effect. Setting 16, Quantity of registers in a network. Enter the total number of GoPOS registers on the network. This value is used when communicating with multiple registers on your network. PC Prog will attempt to find the first register using the base IP entered and increment this IP by 1 until the quantity of registers in a network has been reached. This setting is also used by IRC, inter-register communication. Setting 18, Base weight unit. Select one of the defined units of measurement: kilogram, gram, pound, or ounce. This unit will print on the receipts when using scalable products sold by weight, and they are flagged to print the weight volume info line. Setting 32, Enter decimals as integers. Select this option to enter decimal values as integer values without the decimal separator. If this value is enabled, set to true, you are allowed to enter numbers with or without the decimal separator. For example, entering 700 or 7.00 will both be interpreted as $7. If this value is disabled, set to false, 700 will be interpreted as $700. Setting 33, Automatic login with first clerk. Select this option if you want the POS system to automatically log in with the first clerk defined on startup of the register. If this option is not chosen, after each GoPOS restart, a manual login will be required before being allowed to enter transactions. Setting 35, TCP port for communication. Enter the TCP/IP port for POS communication. This port will be used to communicate with all registers. Please note that when sending and receiving files to and from GoPOS, the IP and port entered on PC Prog must match the IP and port of the APOS unit. If a change is made to the port on GoPOS, you should reboot the unit to properly initiate the change in the communication protocol. Setting 43, local currency prefix. Enter the currency symbol used for the local currency. Setting 46, floating balances. Enabling floating balances will allow you to transfer table, room, or account balances between multiple APOS units. For example, you can open an account on APOS number 1 and enter transactions. Once you close this account on APOS 1, the account and balance would be replicated on all other APOS units defined on your system. You could then walk over to APOS number 2 and reopen the same account and enter new transactions. Once the account is closed on APOS 2, the updated account balance would be replicated on all terminals. You could then walk over to APOS 3 and reopen and tender the same account. The updated account balance would be replicated on all terminals but would no longer be available to reopen on any of the terminals since it was tendered and closed. All APOS units must be properly defined with a unique register number, setting 15, and a fixed sequential terminal IP address. Setting 16 must also be set to the number of APOS units in your network. If properly set up, this would equal the maximum unique register number entered. For example, if you have 3 APOS units, then each APOS will have a unique register number starting with 1. So 1, 2, and 3. And all units must have the number of APOS units in the network, set to 3. As indicated, each APOS must also have a fixed sequential terminal IP address. So if the base IP of your unit is 1.1.1.201, then Unit 2 must have a fixed IP of 1.1.1.202, and Unit 3 must have a fixed IP address of 1.1.1.203. Please note that when updating the register number on GoPOS, you must reboot the unit before the change will take effect. Setting 47, default keyboard, is display only and is set automatically when changing the default keyboard on the keyboard's maintenance screen. This setting will be used to determine the initial display on the APOS devices when the user presses the register button on the GoPOS home menu. Setting 52, automatic logout. Enter the idle time in seconds before automatic logout of the Clerk. If there is no activity between transactions and GoPOS has reached the defined idle time, the transaction screen will be cleared and the user will be logged out. The user must then log back in to enter any new transactions. Enter 0 for no automatic logout. Setting 53, cache rounding. The rounding option chosen will be applied to all tenders that have the rounding option set to true in the tender's maintenance module. You must select one of the following options. No rounding. Select this option if no rounding should occur. Swiss rounding. Select this option to round cash decimal values to the nearest 5 cents. Payments made in cash round to the nearest 5 cents. 410 rounding. Select this option to round cash decimal values to the nearest 10-cent value. Payments made in cash round to the nearest 10 cent. Rounding to even. Select this option to round cash decimal values to the nearest 2-cent value. Payments made in cash will round to the nearest 2 cent. Setting 54. Operations counter never resets. A transaction ID is generated using the 3-digit day or Z counter and the 6-digit operation counter. If, for example, the register performed 100 transactions, the last transaction ID of the day will be 001 000 100. The following day, with this option enabled set to true, the transaction counter will not be reset, and the first transaction of day number 2 will be 002 000 101. If this option is disabled, set to false, the transaction counter will reset, and the first transaction on day 2 will be 002 000 001. Setting 55, Subtotal compulsory before tender. If this option is selected, users must press the subtotal key before tendering and terminating the transaction. Setting 56, Hide Numeric Keypad. Select this option if you wish to hide the fixed numeric keypad on the bottom left of the GoPOS register. Please note that many of the fixed functions are required to enter and complete transactions. It is assumed that if the fixed numeric keypad is hidden, the fixed function keys required by the user will be added to your keyboard in key maintenance. Setting 68, Floating Products. Enabling floating balances will allow you to make product changes directly on your APOS and have those changes replicated on all APOS units defined in your network. Inter-register communication must be enabled, which means that all APOS units must be properly defined with a unique register number, setting 15, a fixed sequential terminal IP address. Setting 16 must also be set to the total number of APOS units on your network. If properly set up, this should equal the maximum unique register number entered. For example, if you have 3 APOS units, then each APOS will have a unique register number starting 1, 1, 2, and 3, and all units must have the number of APOS units in the network set to 3. Each APOS must have a fixed sequential terminal IP address. So the base IP of the unit 1 is 100.100.100.201. That unit 2 must have a fixed IP of 100.100.100.202, and unit 3 must have a fixed IP of 100.100.100.203, and so on. Please note that when updating the register number on GoPOS, you must reboot the unit before the change will take effect. Setting 69, Floating Users. If IRC, inter-register communication, has been enabled, enabling floating users will allow you to make changes to the users directly on your APOS and have those changes replicated on all APOS units defined in your network. Setting 70, Pop-up list item height. Enter the height of the individual items in the pop-up lists displayed on GoPOS. This must be a valid integer between 1 and 100 pixels. Setting 72, displays subtotals with taxes. This option will determine if the cash and credit subtotals should be displayed on GoPOS with or without taxes. Setting 73, tender discount surcharge. Select none for no automatic cash discount or credit card surcharge. Or select one of the defined discount or surcharges. If enabled, 2 subtotals will be displayed on the GoPOS register. The total on the bottom left will display the adjusted amount based on the discount or surcharge defined. The total on the bottom right will display the non-adjusted transaction amount. Both of these totals can be displayed with or without taxes, as well as with or without rounding. Setting 75, base volume unit. Enter the base volume unit of measurement. This unit will print on the receipts when using products sold by volume, and they are flagged to print the weight volume info line. Setting 76, displays subtotals with rounding. This option will determine if the cash and credit subtotals should be displayed on GoPOS with or without rounding. A valid rounding option must be defined for rounding to occur. Setting 77, destination compulsory before tender. If this option is enabled, set to true, you'll be forced to enter an order destination before completing a transaction. If you attempt to tender a transaction without first declaring the order destination, a warning message will be displayed on GoPOS. Setting 78, balance selection compulsory. If this option is enabled, set to true, you will be forced to select an account balance before starting a transaction. Setting 79, reset price level after item sale. When this option is enabled, all price level changes will be reset to the user's default price level after each item sale. Setting 80, reset price level after transaction. Similarly, when this option is enabled, All price level changes will be reset to the user's default price level after each transaction. Setting 81, reset keyboard after item sale. If this option is enabled, the default keyboard will be displayed after each item sale. Setting 82, reset keyboard after transaction. If this option is enabled, the default keyboard will be displayed after each transaction. Setting 85, screensaver timer in seconds. Enter the idle time in seconds before the screensaver is activated. Enter 0 for no screensaver. Setting 86, clear customer display after transaction. Select this option if the customer display should be cleared after each transaction. Setting 87, setting 88, and setting 89, you may enter up to 3 suggested tip amounts as a percentage. These suggested tip lines will be printed on the account or table balance invoice or the receipt, if the balance function option to print suggested tips has been enabled. Let's now look at the product group. These settings control department and product settings. Setting 1, individual options for products, determines whether product options should be set at the department or product level. All product options will default from the chosen department, but may be overridden if this option is enabled. Setting 2, individual print options for products. Select whether product print options should be set at the department or product level. All product print options will default from the chosen department, but may be overridden if this option is enabled. Setting 3, individual taxes for products. Select whether taxes should be set at the department or product level. All product tax options will always default from the chosen department, but may be overridden if this option is enabled. Setting 4, price level quantity. Enter the amount of price level supported for each product. Integer value from 1 to 10. A new price level column will appear in product maintenance, which will allow you to enter a different price for each price level defined. On GoPOS, pressing a key that is linked to a price level will change the price of any new item added to the transaction. The user must be granted access to each specific price level in user maintenance. Setting 7, product lookup by SKU. Select this option if you wish to allow product lookups by SKU number on the GoPOS system. If this option is not enabled, the PLU will be used to look up products when a number is entered and the PLU fixed function key is pressed. Setting 60, individual modifier groups for products. Select whether modifier groups should be set at the department or product level. All product modifier groups will default from the chosen department, but may be overridden if this option is enabled. Setting 63, manager required to override prices. If enabled, managerial rights will be required to override prices on the GoPOS system. To override the set price of a product, enter the price, press the price override key, then select the product. Setting 74, individual promotions for products. Select whether promotions should be set at the department or product level. All product promotions will default from the chosen department, but may be overridden if this option is enabled. The printing group lets you decide what information is printed on customer receipts. Setting 8, print date and time on the receipt. Select this option to print the current date and time on the receipt. The word date followed by the long form of the current date will be printed at the bottom of the receipt. Setting 9, print invoice number on the receipt. Select this option to print the invoice number on the receipt. Trans, semicolon, followed by the transaction number will be printed at the bottom of the receipt. Setting 10, print clerk name on the receipt. Select this option to have the clerk name printed on the receipt. The word clerk, semicolon, followed by the username will be printed at the bottom of the receipt. Setting 11, print register number on the receipt. Select this option to print the register number on the receipt. POS hashtag colon followed by the register number will be printed at the bottom of the receipt. Setting 12, print store ID on the receipt. Select this option to print the store ID on the receipt. The word store followed by the store ID will be printed at the bottom. Setting 13, print QR code on the receipt. Select this option to print the QR code on the receipt. When scanned by a QR reader, the receipt information is displayed in a table format. Future enhancements will allow you to scan the QR code to directly recall the transaction on GoPOS. If enabled, a QR code will also be added when printing account and table balances. Scanning the QR code will recall and display the account or table balance if the account is still active. Setting 17, print subtotal without taxes on the receipt. Select this option to print subtotals without taxes. Subtotal and the total transaction amount before taxes will be printed on the receipt. Setting 34, print PLU second line info on the receipt. Select this option to print the PLU second line information on a receipt. The PLU number, SKU number, and unit price of the product will be printed as a second product line for each product in the transaction. Setting 57, consolidate transaction items. Select this option to consolidate individual product sales under one heading on the receipt. If multiple transactions are entered using the same product, the total number and total price of the items will be displayed under one product heading. Setting 62, print merchant copy. Select this option to print an additional EFT merchant copy of the receipt. This option is only valid when there is an EFT device linked to the tender. After printing the customer receipt, the system will print a merchant copy showing the transaction payment details. Setting 64, print order number on the receipt. Select this option to print an order number on the receipt. A unique order number will be generated automatically using the current transaction number and printed at the top of the receipt. Setting 65, print canceled transactions on the receipt. Select this option to print canceled transactions on the receipt. If disabled, no receipt will be printed when a transaction is canceled. Setting 66, maximum number of receipt copies allowed. Enter the maximum number of receipt copies allowed. A value of 0 indicates no receipt copies will be allowed. Setting 67, print graphic logo on the receipt. Select this option to print a graphic logo on the receipt. A valid black and white image must be linked to the printer in hardware maintenance. A separate graphic logo may be specified for 58mm and 80mm paper. Setting 71, print total taxes on the receipt. Enter the description of the total taxes to be displayed on the receipt. A null or empty value will indicate that taxes should not be totaled. Setting 83, print corrections on the receipt. Select this option if you wish to print deleted or error-corrected transactions on the receipt. Setting 84, print quantity on the receipt total line. Select this option if you wish to print quantities on the receipt total line. The scanner settings allow you to customize scanner barcodes and functionality. The system currently supports both Universal Product Code, UPC, and European Article Number, EAN, barcode formats. The UPC format is used primarily in the US and Canada, while the EAN is used everywhere else globally. The EAN barcode and UPC barcode are the same, except for the placement of human-readable numbers below each code. These numbers are only there as a backup in case the barcode does not scan properly, and the information must be manually entered into the register or point of sale system. If a manually entered or scanned item is not found, the GoPOS system will display a warning message and emit a sound. You may also add products on the fly when a scanned item is not found if Add Product on the Fly option has been enabled in user maintenance. The format of the barcode must be F, where F is the format flag. This must be one of the supported in-store marking format flags defined in setting 19 to 30, followed by the code, which is the department or product ID or SKU, followed by PCD, the price check digit for price or quantity. This is an optional system-generated digit to ensure the price is valid, followed by the price or quantity, which are numeric values with no decimal or commas, followed by the check digit, system-generated digit to ensure the barcode is valid. The format of the in-store marking flag defined in setting 19 to 30 must be in the XYZ format, where X is a value from 1 to 3, where 1 means the code is used as a PLU number and the flag is included in the PLU number. 2 means the code is used as a PLU number and the flag is not included in the PLU number. And 3 means the code is used as a department number and the flag is not included in the department number. The Y value, or second value, must be a value from 0 to 5, where 0 means the code is interpreted as the quantity code with no decimals, 1 is quantity code with 1 decimal, 2 is quantity code with 2 decimals, 3 is quantity code with 3 decimals, 4, the code is interpreted as a price with 2 decimals and no price check digit, and 5, the code is interpreted as a price as well, but with a price check digit. The last segment, or Z, is a number of digits from 0 to 9 for the quantity or the price. Setting 31, validate check digit for scanned products. All supported scanners are plug and play but must be configured to send the carriage return with or without a check digit. If the scanner is set up to send check digits, then barcodes in the system need to be created with check digits, and this option must be enabled. If the scanner is not set up to send check digits, then barcodes in the system need to be created without check digits, and this option must be disabled. The last group is reports. These settings allow you to customize report names and options. Setting 44, extra info on PLU computer reports. Select this option if you want extra product information printed on the PLU reports. Setting 45, cache declaration mandatory for Clerk's report. Select this option if a cache declaration is mandatory before the Clerk reports can be generated. You must have at least one tender with the requires cache declaration option enabled. Setting 48, report period 1. Enter the name of the report period 1. The report name for period 1 will default to daily report, but may be changed to whatever you wish. The same for setting 49, report period 2, with a default of weekly report. Setting 50, report period 3, with a default of monthly report. And setting 51, report period 4, with a default of yearly report. Setting 58, print grand total on Z reports. Disable this option if you do not want to see the old and new grand totals when generating Z period reports on the APOS. Well, that is it for settings, but stay tuned, and in the next video, I will show you how to save and send this program to your APOS devices when we look at the send module.
Why don't you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get notified as soon as we upload any new videos. Also, if you want to learn more about the Optima APOS series line of products or need any POS accessories such as barcode scanners, printers, Windows PC POS terminals, and more, visit www.optimagopos.ca. Again, that's www.optimagopos.ca. I'm Brandon from Optima, and I'll see you again.